The call came on a Wednesday night. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me pick up. A man's voice, shaky and desperate, asked if I was Charlie Morrison. When I said yes, he told me his name was Mark Henderson, and his wife Linda was on the line too. They needed to see me right away. It was about Sarah, my ex-girlfriend, the woman I had not thought about in 2 years. His voice cracked when he said it. "We need you to testify. Our son needs you. Sarah did something terrible to him." My stomach dropped. Their son. What had Sarah done? The silence on that line felt heavier than anything I had ever carried. Before I tell you about that meeting that changed everything, let me know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you believe in protecting kids and speaking up against crimes that hide in plain sight, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Because what I am about to share will change how you see the people you think you know, the ones you trust, the ones who seem so normal. Let me take you back to how this all started. I met Sarah 3 years ago at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill, Denver. It was one of those autumn mornings when the air smelled like rain and fresh pastries. She was sitting by the window grading papers, her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. When she looked up and smiled at me, I felt something shift. We started talking. She told me she was a private tutor, specializing in math and science for middle and high school students. 26 years old, full of energy, passionate about education. She lit up when she talked about her students, about helping kids who struggled, about being the person who made learning click for them. We exchanged numbers that day. 6 months later, we were dating seriously. Sarah was everything I thought I wanted. She cooked elaborate dinners on weeknights, planned weekend hikes in the Rocky Mountains, laughed at my terrible jokes. We talked about moving in together. I remember one Saturday in spring, we drove up to Estes Park, sat by a lake, and she told me she could see a future with me. I believed her. I believed every word. But there were things that did not sit right. Small things at first. Sarah was devoted to her work, which I admired. But her devotion crossed lines I could not quite name. She talked about her students constantly, especially the teenage boys. She would light up describing how this one kid finally understood algebra, or how that one opened up to her about his family problems. She said teaching was not just academics. It was about connection, trust, being a mentor. I thought she was just passionate, dedicated. Then I noticed the texting. Late at night, when we were watching a movie, her phone would buzz. She would glance at it, smile, and type back quickly. When I asked who it was, she would say one of her students needed help with homework. On a Friday, at 10 p.m., she would get defensive. "These kids do not have support. At home, Charlie. If I do not answer, who will?" I felt guilty for questioning her. She made me feel like I was the one with the problem. One evening, I saw a message preview on her phone. It was from someone saved as just the letter D. The message said, "I miss you. When are you coming to my house again?" Sarah grabbed the phone before I could read more. Her face went red. She said it was Dylan, an 11th grader, who needed extra support because his parents worked late. He was just grateful for her help. But the way she said it, the way she would not meet my eyes, made my gut twist. I asked her about boundaries, about the policies tutors were supposed to follow with minors. She exploded. "Do you not trust me? Are you seriously accusing me of something? I am helping a kid who is struggling, and you are turning it into something disgusting. That is on you, Charlie. Not me." I backed down. I let her make me feel like the villain. For weeks I walked on eggshells. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was insecure. But the nagging feeling would not leave. 2 months later, I found out Dylan was not in 11th grade. He was 16, a sophomore, still a minor under Colorado law. I confronted Sarah. I told her she needed to cut off contact with students outside of scheduled tutoring sessions, especially someone that young. She looked at me like I had slapped her. You are controlling me. You do not understand education. You do not understand what these kids need. She accused me of being paranoid, sick-minded for seeing something wrong in a pure teacher-student relationship. She cried. She said I was breaking her heart by not believing in her. We broke up that night after a fight that left us both exhausted. She left my apartment, and I sat there wondering if I had just destroyed something good over nothing. For 2 years, I tried to forget her. I dated other people. I focused on my work as a software engineer. I told myself I had dodged a bullet, even if I was not sure what kind. Until that Wednesday night, when Mark and Linda Henderson called. I met them 2 days later at a small diner on the outskirts of town. They looked worn down, older than they probably were. Mark had deep lines around his eyes. Linda's hands shook as she held her coffee cup. They were in their mid-40s, but they looked like they had aged a decade. Mark slid a folder across the table to me. This is about our son Dylan. He just turned 17. Linda's voice broke. We failed him. We failed our boy. I opened the folder. Inside were photos of a thin kid with hollow eyes, medical records, police reports. My hands went cold. Mark took a breath and started talking. We hired Sarah 2 years ago when Dylan was 15. He was struggling with math. Failing, actually. We thought a tutor would help. At first, it was great. Dylan's grades came up. He seemed happier. Sarah was so good with him. Patient, kind. She would stay late, sometimes help him with other subjects too. We thought we were lucky to find her. Then she started coming over more often, even when there was not a scheduled session. She would bring Dylan gifts, video games, expensive sneakers, a new jacket. We thought she was just being generous. She told us Dylan reminded her of her younger brother, that she wanted to help him succeed. Linda wiped her eyes. We were so stupid. We wanted to believe the best in people. Sarah convinced us to let her take Dylan on field trips. Educational outings, she called them. Museums, science centers. We said yes. She was an adult, a professional. We trusted her. Mark's jaw clenched. We should not have, Linda continued. Dylan started changing about 6 months in. He stopped hanging out with his friends. His grades dropped again. He barely talked to us. We asked what was wrong, but he would not say. He locked himself in his room for hours. We thought it was just teenage stuff. Hormones. School stress. We had no idea. Then one night, I went into his room to put away laundry. His phone was on the bed unlocked. I saw a message from Sarah. Linda's voice dropped to a whisper. It said, I missed last night. I want you again. There was a picture attached. Inappropriate. My world stopped. I confronted Dylan. He broke down. He told me everything. Sarah had been in a relationship with him for 6 months. She gave him alcohol. Pills to relax, she called them. Then she would have sex with him. He was 16 years old. Mark slammed his fist on the table, but quietly, like he had no energy left for anger. And we did the worst thing. When we found out Sarah came to our house, she cried. She begged. She said she loved Dylan, that it was real. Then her tone changed. She said Dylan wanted it too, that he initiated some of it. She asked who would believe us if we went to the police. A respected tutor versus a troubled teenage boy. She said we would ruin Dylan's life by making it public. Linda covered her face. Then she offered us money, $5,000 a month. To keep quiet. She said it was to help with Dylan's future. College fund. Expenses. We were struggling financially. Mark lost his job during COVID. We were drowning in bills. And God help us, we took it. For a year we took that money. We told ourselves it was for Dylan. that we were protecting him by keeping it quiet. But Dylan got worse. He stopped eating, started using drugs, cut himself. 3 months ago, he tried to kill himself. Mark's voice was hollow. He swallowed a bottle of pills. We found him just in time. In the hospital, he finally told his therapist everything. The therapist reported it to the police. That is the law. An investigation started. And we realized we were accomplices. We helped her get away with it. We sold our son's safety for money. I sat there, unable to speak. My hands were numb. Linda leaned forward. The prosecutor says we might face charges for covering it up. Our lawyer says the only way to reduce our sentence is to cooperate fully, to find witnesses who can show Sarah's pattern of behavior. We found your name on her old social media. We know you dated her. Please, if you saw anything at all, we need you to testify. For Dylan. I looked at the photo of Dylan again, that hollow-eyed kid, and I thought about the Dylan from Sarah's texts 2 years ago, the one who missed her, the one asking when she would come over. I had seen the signs, I had questioned them, and Sarah had made me feel crazy for it. I asked to see the rest of the file. There were texts, hundreds of them. Sarah telling Dylan she loved him, Dylan asking her to stop, then apologizing, then saying he loved her too. Photos I could not look at for long. Medical records showing substances in his system. Benzodiazepines, alcohol. Documented by the hospital after his suicide attempt. Mark said, "There is more." The police found 2 other families. Boys who were Sarah's students before Dylan. One family refused to talk. Too ashamed. But the other, the Torres family, they came forward. Their son Miguel is 19 now. Sarah did the same thing to him 3 years ago. Same pattern. Gifts. Boundary violations. Drugs. Sex. The Torres family did not know about Dylan. They just cut ties and moved away. They thought they were the only ones. I felt sick. I had been with Sarah during part of that time, while she was grooming Miguel, while she was starting with Dylan, and I had seen the red flags, the late-night texts, the obsession with teenage boys, the way she made me feel insane for questioning her. I closed the folder. I looked at Mark and Linda. Their guilt was written all over their faces. They had failed their son in the worst way. But Sarah was the predator. Sarah was the one who destroyed these boys. I will testify. I will tell them everything I know. I did not sleep that night. And of line. And I. 10. 10. 10. I lay in bed, replaying every memory of Sarah through a new lens, the way she talked about her students. The way her eyes lit up when she described the teenage boys who looked up to her. The trips she took with them always alone. The texting at all hours. The defensiveness when I questioned anything. I had ignored my instincts because she convinced me I was the problem. The next morning, I called the prosecutor's office. I told them I wanted to help. They connected me with Detective Angela Reyes, who was leading the investigation. I met her at the station. She was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, no-nonsense. She thanked me for coming forward. Then she asked me to tell her everything about my relationship with Sarah. I told her about the texts with Dylan, about Sarah lying about his age, about her anger when I tried to set boundaries, about the way she manipulated me into feeling guilty. Detective Reyes took notes. She said my testimony was important because it established a pattern. It showed Sarah targeted young male students. It showed she lied and manipulated when confronted. It showed this was not a one-time mistake. It was calculated. But I wanted to do more. I asked Detective Reyes if I could contact the tutoring agency Sarah worked for. She said yes. I called them, identified myself, and asked about other families Sarah tutored. The coordinator was hesitant at first, but when I explained I was cooperating with a police investigation, she opened up. She said 2 other families had withdrawn their sons from the program years ago due to personal issues. She could not give me their information, but she passed mine to the police. Detective Reyes followed up. One family, the Johnsons, refused to participate. They did not want their son's name involved. But the other family, the Torres family, agreed to talk. Miguel Torres was now 19 in college, trying to move on. But when he heard there were other victims, he decided to speak up. I met him at the station a week later. Miguel was tall, quiet, with guarded eyes. He told his story. Sarah tutored him when he was 15. Same pattern. She gained his trust, gave him gifts, texted him constantly, convinced his parents to let her take him places alone. Then came the alcohol, the pills, the sex. Miguel thought it was love. He thought he was special, until Sarah moved on to her next student and ghosted him. He spiraled. His parents eventually found out, but they were immigrants. Scared of authorities, scared of shame. They moved to a different state and tried to forget. Miguel looked at me. She made me feel like I wanted it, like it was my fault. I was 15. I did not know what grooming was. I did not know I was being abused. He paused. But I know now. And if my story helps put her away, then it is worth it. Detective Reyes asked if I would be willing to meet Dylan. She said it might help him to know he was not alone, that other people believed him. I agreed. A week later, I went to the therapist's office, where Dylan was receiving treatment. Mark and Linda were there. Dylan looked even thinner than in the photos. Pale, nervous. He barely made eye contact. I sat down across from him. I told him my name. I told him I used to date Sarah. I told him I saw the warning signs, and I tried to ask questions, but she shut me down. She made me think I was crazy. I looked at him. None of this is your fault. You were a kid. She was the adult. She had all the power. You did not do anything wrong. Dylan's eyes filled with tears. It was the first time he cried since the suicide attempt, his mother said later. He asked me, "Do you think people will believe me?" I told him the truth. Yes, because you are not alone. Miguel is coming forward. I am testifying about what I saw. There is evidence, messages, photos, medical records. The truth is going to come out, and people will believe you. Over the next few months, the case built. Detective Reyes collected everything. Sarah's phone records, her messages with Dylan, Miguel, and other students, financial records showing the payments to the Hendersons, interviews with neighbors, co-workers, other families. The prosecutor charged Sarah with multiple counts of sexual assault, of a minor providing drugs to minors, and exploitation. The preliminary hearing came. I sat in that courtroom, my palms sweating. Sarah was there, dressed conservatively, hair pulled back, looking like the responsible adult she pretended to be. Her lawyer tried to paint her as a caring educator who got too close to her students, who made mistakes but did not have criminal intent. Then I took the stand. I told the court about the relationship, about the texts with Dylan, about Sarah's obsession with teenage boys, about her lying when I questioned her, about the way she manipulated me into silence. Her lawyer tried to discredit me. You are just a jealous ex-boyfriend. Are you not? You want revenge. I looked him in the eye. I loved her once. But what she did to those boys is not about me. It is about them. And they deserve justice. Miguel testified next. He described the grooming, the gifts, the alcohol, the sex, when he was too intoxicated to consent. Sarah's lawyer tried to suggest Miguel wanted it. Miguel did not flinch. I was 15. I could not legally consent. She knew that. She did it anyway. Then came the forensic evidence. The messages from Sarah's phone. Explicit photos she took of Dylan. Videos. Proof that she bought alcohol for minors. Medical records showing Dylan had benzodiazepines in his system the night of his suicide attempt. Prescriptions traced back to Sarah. The defense crumbled. Sarah's face went white. She had no more excuses. 8 months after that first phone call from the Hendersons, the verdict came down. I sat in the courtroom next to Miguel. Dylan was there with his parents and his grandmother. The Torres family had flown in. Sarah stood as the judge read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Sexual assault of a minor in the first degree. Distribution of controlled substances to minors. Exploitation of a child. The judge sentenced her to 22 years in prison. She would be registered as a sex offender for life. Sarah started crying. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder. But no one in that courtroom felt sorry for her. The Hendersons received their sentence a week later. Probation and community service for their role in covering up the abuse. They lost temporary custody of Dylan, who went to live with his grandmother. But the judge allowed them to participate in family therapy with the goal of reconciliation. It was not forgiveness. It was a chance to rebuild. Mark and Linda had a long road ahead. They would carry the guilt forever. But they were trying. Dylan started college that fall. He chose to study psychology. He wanted to help other survivors. Miguel launched a podcast about male victims of female predators, a topic that rarely gets attention. He interviewed Dylan, me, others who had come forward. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of messages from boys and men who had been abused by women in power. Teachers, coaches, family friends, people who were told they should be grateful, that they were lucky, that it was not really abuse. I volunteered as a mentor for a support group Dylan and Miguel started. We met once a month. Young men who had been groomed, assaulted, disbelieved. We talked. We listened. We reminded each other that we were not alone. That shame belonged to the abusers, not the survivors. I went to therapy too. I needed to process my own guilt. The what-ifs haunted me. What if I had pushed harder when I was dating Sarah? What if I had reported her back then? Would Dylan have been spared? My therapist, Dr. Patel, was patient with me. She said, "You did what you could with the information you had. You trusted someone you loved. That does not make you responsible for her crimes. You spoke up when it mattered. You helped bring her to justice. That is what counts." It took time, but I learned to forgive myself. I learned that predators are experts at manipulation. They make you doubt your instincts. They isolate you from the truth. Sarah was good at it. She fooled everyone. Parents, schools, me. But in the end, the truth came out. Because Dylan found the courage to speak. Because Miguel refused to stay silent. Because people finally listened. I think about this often. Predators are not always strangers in dark alleys. They are not always the creepy loners we are taught to fear. Sometimes they are charming, educated, trusted. They are teachers, coaches, mentors. They look normal. They sound caring. And that is exactly why they get away with it for so long. Female predators are even more invisible because society refuses to believe women can be abusers. Boys and men who come forward are mocked, told they should enjoy it, told it is not real abuse. But it is. It destroys lives just the same. Dylan is doing better now. He still has hard days. Therapy is ongoing. Trust is difficult. But he is alive. He is building a future. Miguel is thriving. He turned his pain into purpose. The Hendersons are working to earn back their son's trust. It will take years, maybe a lifetime, but they are trying, and that matters. As for me, I carry this experience with me. It changed how I see the world, how I listen to people, how I trust my instincts. I will never ignore red flags again. I will never let someone make me feel crazy for asking questions. And I will always believe survivors, especially the ones society tells us cannot be victims. Sometimes I still think about what might have happened if I had acted sooner. If I had trusted my gut. When I first saw those texts. If I had called someone. Reported something. But then I remember what Dr. Patel said. You cannot change the past. You can only choose what you do now. And I chose to stand up. I chose to testify. I chose to help Dylan and Miguel find justice. That has to be enough. So let me ask you. Have you ever ignored your instincts about someone because they seemed too normal to be dangerous? Have you ever been made to feel crazy for questioning someone's behavior? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story made you think, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel if you believe in giving survivors a voice. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because the more we talk about these issues, the harder it is for predators to hide. Thank you for listening to my story. It was not easy to tell, but if it helps even one person recognize the warning signs, or gives one survivor the courage to speak up, then it was worth it. Take care of yourselves. Trust your instincts. And remember, it is never too late to do the right thing. Your voice, no matter how small it feels, can pull someone out of the darkness.